This is an LLD production.
Welcome to this very special episode of Owlia's Opinions, the podcast in which we take a better look into the world we love, learn new things, and debate the toughest issues the world has in store. I am your host, Armon Owlia. I am a journalism student here at Drexel University in Philadelphia, and it is time to enter the new School of Thought. Well, first of all, thank you guys for listening to this episode. I know it's been a very eventful week coming off of a year of opinions. Thank you again for getting us this far. A few bits of news before we begin this episode. First, Owlia's Opinions now has a new home. As of this episode, we are airing our episodes not only on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and of course YouTube, where you can find all of our episodes, but also, for the first time ever, we will be airing this on Spotify. I've wanted to get on this platform for a while now, and I'm so happy that the Spotify team has made it possible, so thank you guys so much. Also, this episode, like Year of Opinions, is a very special one in light of the confirmation of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. However, I'll get to that later on in the program. This episode is dedicated entirely to the women's rights movement, which is something I have been behind for a very long time. I wanted to show that men are more than what you see on TV, smashing down women who have suffered trauma and are brave enough to speak up. So on this show, I'm going to give women the power. I'm going to give them the microphone. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. I began this show with the intention of bringing opinions, mindsets, and experiences other than my own on. And I'll tell you what, while this guest of mine is similar to me in a lot of ways, this guest has some differences, but all of them make her stand out in all the right ways. I spoke recently with a fellow Drexel University student, Francesca, also known as Frankie Alchanati, who is an architecture major. We discussed, amongst many things, her upbringing in Los Angeles, her family, her faith, and her thoughts about the women's rights movement in the wake of the Trump administration. Enough of me, though. This is my interview with Frankie Alchanati. So, Frankie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hi, guys. I'm Frankie Alchanati. So, a little bit about me. I'm from Los Angeles, California, born and raised. And I grew up as a triplet, so I had two brothers who were the same exact age as me, and throughout my life, we were always mushed together as the Alchanati triplets. So part of the reason why I decided to come to Philly was, one, mostly because of the architecture program, but two, because I knew this would be an opportunity to start my own identity, in a sense. Here, people don't know who I am, don't know that I'm a triplet. They don't mush me in that that phrase, the Alchanati triplets. So with that said, I'm here now in Drexel. I study architecture. It's a 6-year program, so for the first 2 years, I have been a full-time student, so I've had many all-nighters, I've had many projects, many deadlines, and now, still I have many all-nighters and deadlines, but now it's a different twist. I work full-time, and then I have classes at night. And so it's rigorous and it's tiring, but my dream of becoming an architect is finally happening. So,
speaking of triplets, you pretty much knocked my first 3 questions out of the way. But I want to do a quick follow-up on that. I mean, you said you grew up in Los Angeles. What was it like growing up in the Alchanati household? How about your parents?
So, well, first of all, LA is a really cool city. For those of you who have never been, definitely check it out. It's different. Nothing compares to it. I love to travel, so I've been to a lot of different cities, and for some reason, like LA always comes to mind. Like you miss it when you're not there. You miss it. But growing up in my household, we were all over the place. My mom and my dad are very big advocates for like trying new things. So they never would let us say no to something. They said you have to try it before you can determine whether or not you like it or you don't like it. So whether it was like with foods or like activities, I tried out for every sports team. I did crazy activities like Krav Maga, like the karate, martial arts, fencing, like every possible like activity you could think of. Like my mom found a way for us to try out and check out. And so that was exciting because I really learned a lot about different activities, different people. Like the world really like was shaped based on like the way I grew up.
Yeah. Also, I know from talking to you, because we've been friends now for, I'd say, about a year.
Yeah, a year.
Yeah. It's been crazy how fast time flies, just like this show.
Honestly.
Yeah. I also know, just from what we've talked, also that you were raised, and you also are a practitioner of the Jewish faith. You grew up in that household, probably, Jewish, correct? Yeah. So how did it shape your life in the early years?
So my family's not religious, but socially and culturally we're very very active. So my weekends did consist of me like going to like friends' houses who were Jewish and like celebrating Jewish holidays and being involved with like the Jewish community and stuff. So it does play a really big part of my life. Like still today, like coming to Philly and like not knowing anybody on the East Coast, being able to be active with Chabad and Hillel has really helped me to get to know people.
Yeah. Has your faith, do you think, has influenced your political stance?
Not really. I think like the way I was raised, and I guess maybe that's because I'm Jewish, like my parents really pushed into us like good morals and having good morality and being respectful and just being like, just knowing between right and wrong and knowing that you always have to be kind. So I wouldn't say that's like a Jewish ideology, but it's like a human being. Like you should always try to look at people and give them a second chance. Like don't just jump to conclusions based on where they're from or what they look like, or just like give them the time of day.
I agree with you completely. I mean, I'm not Jewish and I totally believe in the same things.
So I think it's a human being.
Yeah. I also know, again, from prior conversations that you are a registered Democrat.
Yes.
Full disclosure, so am I.
Yeah.
I'm an independent guy, but I'm only Democrat to vote in the primaries.
Right.
But of course, that means, in November 2016, of course, the election of a certain someone who we will not say on this show. But that really also put issues such as women's rights and equal rights really to the forefront.
Right.
What's your view on what's going on right now within the women's rights movement with things such as Me Too, with, for example, the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh at the Supreme Court?
So one of my things that I love to do, and especially now that I have time, because I take the train to work, is I read the news and I read articles, and I have various news medias that I follow up on. So to me, the whole situation with Brett Kavanaugh, it's sad. It's the fact that he even had to be questioned, because he's been in the government for a while, and now it's being brought to our attention. Like any government official could be because people had this ideology that maybe she was just saying that because she wanted to get him off the stand. But any governmental official has power. They all have power, so anybody could be targeted. And so to me, the fact that he was chosen to be targeted, and possibly she could have been doing that because she wanted to get him off, but the fact that you even have to be questioned about that shows your character. There's some people in the world that you just would never put that past them. You just everyone would know that person would never do that thing. So you're never accused. But the fact that he even had that accusation means that something was not right with who he is as a person. Yeah. So do you follow? I
totally follow. And by she, of course, you mean Dr. Ford.
Yes, Dr. Ford. Yes.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure.
Yes, Dr. Ford. She's also from California.
Yeah.
And so that it shows you one thing, that if that even has to be put in your face, and the fact that they had to go through this whole big ordeal, and yes, because he is going to a big position, that they have to go through this, but the fact that was even built up to the way it was built up to, means that people can agree that that's something he could have done, which just shows you that, like, why are we putting somebody in a powerful position when we know that, even though we don't know for sure he did it or not, but like the fact that there's a possibility that could have happened.
Indeed. And then your perspective on, let's say, the women's rights movement as of for the last 2 years.
I mean, I think it's phenomenal. Like, I think that it's impressive and it's awesome to have people who stand up for what they believe in, like for any cause, not even just Me Too, but like the March for Our Lives, like any group of people who really like are passionate enough to start something. It's cool. I mean, of course, it depends on on what topic they're doing, but like and regardless, like when people have a passion, like it's impressive. And so for me, like with the Me Too movement, it's exciting because I can relate to it. Like I can feel their passion. I can feel their motivation. I can feel their determination to change. And so I wish I had the time to really be more involved and like do something, but just like that support, like that, knowing that there's people out there that are doing that, it's good.
Yeah. So shifting gears a little bit, you also mentioned earlier on in this interview that you study architecture.
Yes.
As someone who is a big fan of architecture, I mean, I'm a major Frank Lloyd Wright nut. But yeah. So why did you study architecture in particular?
So it all started in second grade when we had career day at my school, and my friend's dad came in. And for me, like when I was little, like I just thought buildings just appeared. Like I was always fascinated with buildings. I always loved watching watching buildings come to life and like seeing buildings in different cities and stuff. It was always amazing. But at that age, in second grade, for some reason, I just didn't realize there was a whole process. Like I was just getting to know like the world.
And of course, in LA, there are so many skyscrapers.
Right. And so when my friend's father came in, and he said, like, he was an architect, and he showed us this video of a building he had just designed, and how, like, he took us through a tour, and I realized there's a whole process, and I said, like, and he did it. Like, he did the impossible. To me, it was, like, after I realized that people build these buildings, like the realization, and the fact that, like, somebody I knew, somebody who I was close to, had done it. To me, it made it, I knew for sure that this dream could become a reality. And so now that I'm here and I've grown and I'm older and I understand more what this world is all about, I've come to the conclusion that like architecture, this is going to be a little bit of like a bold statement, but can change the world. Everything we do, in a sense, relates to architecture. The house we grew up in. If your room had been placed in a different part of the house, like the way that you came up to your room at night, the way that you formulated like memories and stuff could be different based on like your experiences in different parts of your house. Like this apartment you cross, like if this had been a courtyard shaped building, like if this room may not even have existed, like we wouldn't be able to have this conversation. The way that Drexel was created, like Drexel versus UPenn, you have such a different feeling at UPenn's campus. It's easier to see people at UPenn than it is here because everyone's walking on different streets and like going through different buildings. But at UPenn, you have Locust Walk, and even though it's landscape design, but like the way that their campus is oriented is a whole different way of living. And so to me, like architecture can change the world. And like there was a lecturer who came to our campus a couple days ago his name is Michael Hoffman, and he talked about how architecture can change the world too. Like he was in that same mindset, and he took it in the sense like he went to Rwanda and created like a hospital. And this hospital is curing people and giving jobs, and even through the whole construction process was giving people jobs. And their whole mentality was that with construction of the building, they wanted to train people. So like they took teenagers and they had mentors and they helped to everyone learn together. Now they were able to create this hospital. And these people now have a hospital, but also they have this talent to do something else. So architecture really has this power to just do something special.
Wow. Wow. I don't know what to say after that. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And I mean, going now, you were the second grader who really was fascinated with buildings to now the college student now in your junior year, correct?
Yeah, my junior year. But I have this year and plus 3 others.
Of course. But yeah, I mean, as an architecture student, do you think it's been everything you've wanted it to be?
I mean, yes, with architecture, yes. My college experience, no. I always imagined myself to be at like a school where like you have like the football games and the whole thing.
Yeah.
I didn't expect myself to be here, but I don't regret it. Like I've the whole point of going to college is to get a career and to know that I'm working in a job. Like tomorrow I'm meeting my boss and we're going on a survey. We're going to a house that we're renovating and we're adding an addition to. So like I would never have gotten that experience. Like I mean, yes, at one point in my life, but to be 20 years old, being able to like design something that's going to be created and built, like that's something special. And I wouldn't have gotten it anywhere else.
Of course.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's another thing I want to ask. Like, how a lot of architects, you have to be naturally versatile when you work. You have to be able to work in multiple styles. But there's always that one little thing that's like the trademark of every single architect. What would you say if we were to look at any of your designs is yours?
I like to think about the people. Through all my projects at school, like for example, like this one project we had. Well, actually, all of them, now that we think about it, like, but one in specific was we designed a row house. And the row house was across from the Eastern State Penitentiary. And the whole idea of the prompt of the project was that the Eastern State Penitentiary had proposed this idea where they were going to have artists from around the world, 3 artists, come for a year for like a fellowship. And they were going to live in my row house, and they were going to be using the space in the row house to design like an art exhibit, and that art exhibit would eventually make its way to the Eastern State Penitentiary. This is all like fictional, but this is like our prompt. And so for me, like my whole mindset was like trying to find a way to not only get these artists to be successful in design, but also for them to have a successful relationship, because like they're living in a house for a year. And I've been to different countries, and I've been hosted by families, and like to have to like be put into, or I've been to summer camp too. I've been to summer camp for 10 years of my life, and you're always put in the situation where you're a new person and you're meeting new people, and when you're going to be with somebody for 24/7, in a sense, like you're eating, sleeping, working with them, like you always want to feel comfortable. So my mindset when I'm designing this house was, yes, this was going to be a space for use, but also a space for them to grow together and to create a relationship. And so my teachers always and my classmates always made fun of me because I thought about the people. And yes, I thought about the design, of course, but it was always how a person's going to relate to my design. What are they going to feel when they walk into my space? Are they going to feel happy, comfortable? Those are my main things, like happiness and comfort. And so I think it's not a physical thing, but in a sense, through my design, it becomes physical.
I see. So first of all, I mean, as someone who really enjoys architecture, I mean, the architects that I grew up with who are like major, like I love their designs, are like the Frank Gehry's, the Frank Lloyd Wrights, and the I.M. Pace. There's only one female architect that I'm aware of.
Hadid?
Yeah, and that's also because she's Iranian, like I am.
Yeah.
So I would say, can we agree that architecture could be essentially a male-dominated industry?
Unfortunately, yes. Oh. I mean, I don't know if it's unfortunate, but like, yes, it is a dominant one, but at the same time, like, we're at this, back to your Me Too, like, movement, like, women have the equal, like, as equal and as more to add to this field and to all fields. And so, yes, like, we know about male architects, but at the same time, like, you see Zaha Hadid, she has made a mark on the architecture world. Like, she has so many buildings that people, like, can identify her work. And that's something powerful.
Yeah, that is.
And so, maybe one day, I doubt it, that I'll be equivalent to Zaha Hadid. Like, I couldn't even say that. Like, I feel bad for saying that. But who knows? Like, we have a world that's going to live on for a long time. Like, there's so many opportunities for women to step up.
I mean, at this point now, we're coming close to November. We're coming close to an election. The future seems very... not chaotic, but it's very uncertain. Mm-hmm. What do you see in your future?
Politically or just in general?
In general.
Well, I do know one thing. I for the next 3 years, I'll be here in Philly working and studying architecture. I don't know. A lot of people ask me that question when I go home back to LA, like my friends and my friends' parents or my family and stuff will ask me, like, what are you going to do after you graduate? Are you going to stay in Philly? Are you going to come back to LA? And honestly, like, my answer is always kind of the same, is like, wherever I get a job, like, I'll follow a job. I have dream firms that I really want to work for, and I will apply to them, and if I get accepted, like, that would probably cause me to move. But who knows, like, in 4 years, a lot can happen. So I'm kind of just living it day by day, but I have, like, short goals. Like, I know that I want to, like, at one point, work in an architecture firm that designs skyscrapers, because that's my dream in Philly. So at one point in the next 4 years, I would love to do that. I want to travel more. I have a list of countries and cities that I want to see, so I want to definitely go and do that. I want to spend more time with my family, go home more. I don't know, just live the life that, like, I want to live. Like, be happy, just, like, content, not stressed, like, and which is, I don't know. I just want to be happy. I want the best. I hope our world becomes better. Like, I don't know. You
I got it. Yeah. Well, Frankie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate that, and best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you for the listeners. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity.
My pleasure. Frankie. Definitely one of the brightest and best people I've met since coming to Philadelphia. So what do you guys think of her? Do you agree or disagree with what she believes in? What do you think of her? Put a comment on www.lovelearndebate.com. Go to the Love tab and you'll find the full transcript of our interview there. So we're now going to take a short break. When we come back after our performance from Julia Levitina, I will be talking about the history of a movement that pretty much kickstarted everything that came after, and still is with us to this day. We'll be back after this.
Silhouetted in the wind.
So that was Apricot Sky by Julia Levitina. Now, normally I would just go into a description about what I thought of the song and artist, but I'm not going to do that. Because on Wednesday night, when Apricot Sky came out as a single, I went to World Cafe Live, just down the street from the LLD studios in Philadelphia, in order to watch her perform, which is a first for me. As you heard, she is a very fun artist to listen to, with her inspiration really coming from aviation. This song is no different. She based this on the invention of the airplane, as well as the inventors, Wilbur and Orville, collectively known as the Wright brothers. She's also amazingly talented and highly artistic, because she's not only a singer, she is also a figure skater, a sculptor, and she's multilingual. In other words, how do I put this? Oh yeah, she's hella talented. She's working on a new album, which is called, and I hope I don't mess up the title, Going to the Moon on Charles Lindbergh's Biplane. I repeat, Going to the Moon on Charles Lindbergh's Biplane. As for its release date, Julia hopes it will come out on the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11's landing, also known as Neil Armstrong's first step on the moon. However, there is no exact date. However, I will keep everyone posted as soon as that album comes out and where you can find it. However, back to the present, this song, for me, when I heard it live, it blew me away. And I thought I had a good musical guest for you guys when I was listening to her EP. But oh my god, that just changed automatically. I wish you went from good to oh my god, I am so lucky. So, again, the single is Apricot Sky, which is now available on both iTunes and Spotify. Links will be in the description. A personal favorite time of mine within not only American but also world history is the rise of the suffrage movement. From the first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls, New York, to New Zealand becoming the first country allowing women the right to vote in 1893, to the United States passing the 19th Amendment in 1920, it was a time where women finally took a step forward in power, gaining the right to speak up and contribute to society in the form of the vote. A time where all men are created equal could no longer be taken literally. It was also a time of very long and difficult work with the suffragettes of old, including legendary activists such as Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Millicent Garrett Fawcett, facing adversity and difficulties at every turn. However, in the end, the work was worth it. Or was it? Sure, it's fair to say that women have more rights now than they did in the last century. We now have female heads of states, female CEOs, even female priests. However, despite all the advancements made in the equal rights movement, there have been many setbacks, many of which have been playing out quite recently within the news. For example, the Me Too movement, a very well-intentioned and hard-working campaign to end sexual abuse by men against women. So far, it has done well, with numerous high-profile careers ending, some with jail time, including disgraced comedian, television pioneer, and Philadelphia native Bill Cosby. However, the attacks by people such as Donald Trump and the United States Congress, the majority of who attack of Congress are very right-wing Christian men, towards this movement has rendered it both irrelevant and a mere attempt at whining by liberal America in the eyes of half of the United States, as evidenced by both the backlash of Dr. Ford's testimony against now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh and the general attitude towards the president, who has openly admitted he has committed acts of sexual assault through highly misogynistic comments. In short, the statement that has been made by many American voters that women are nothing but second-class citizens built for the pleasure of men. However, America as a whole knows better, as evidenced by the actions of women since the election of the 45th president. For example, the annual Women's March has taken place every January 21st since 2017 as protests against Donald Trump's inauguration, with participants being not only women but also men who believe in equal rights. The attendance also confirmed one thing. There is no question that equal rights for both men and women are not only important and fundamental, but now a necessary requirement for politicians if they want to hold office in the United States. Women with the platform to speak have also now stepped up to the plate in the best ways possible. Politicians such as Senators Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein of California, Supreme Court Justices Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor, even celebrities such as Cher, Beyonce, Madonna, and Rowan Blanchard have used their star power and influence for good, campaigning and speaking out against the Trump administration and misogyny in general. We have come a far way, no question. And, in fact, the women's rights movement has made a fair bit of progress since Trump's inauguration. However, if we want to get to a better place, we need to look back at the suffragettes who made it possible, who continued to fight by all means in order to give the women the right to vote, and who never gave up. It's our turn now. So what do you guys think? Do you agree or disagree? If so, please put a comment on www.lovelanddebate.com, go to the Learn tab, and you'll find the article there. So we're going to take another break. When we come back after a performance by Sulene, I'll close out the episode with a few remarks about a confirmation half of America didn't want.
Here I go again, letting my lips win. I won't try pretend that I'm some kind of martyr. It's as simple as the pleasure that lets me down easy. I won't tell my friends, I'll keep you a secret. Let the years go by like we're some kind of fairy tale. It's as simple as the pleasure that lets me down easy. I'm still just as willing as the day you met me. When you say you'll make us Manhattans, I know by sunrise I'll be pleading, let me down easy. Let me down easy. I try not to think of how your lips feel when they speak the truth. I know it's just as fleeting as the love you give, the pleasure that lets me down easy. I'm still just as willing as the day you met me. When you say you'll make us Manhattans, I know by sunrise I'll be pleading, let me down easy. Let me down easy. Just let me down easy. Let me down easy. I don't wanna try hard, baby. I just wanted to work out. I don't wanna give everything just to have you give me doubts. I don't wanna try hard, baby. I just wanted to work out. I don't wanna give everything just to have you let me down. Easy. Let me down easy. Easy. slam me down easy.
And now, some final thoughts. A debate to start at the end of this program. There are times when words cannot begin to describe the shame and pain people feel at a subject. Throughout every single episode up to this point, I've always been able to find the right words in my head, words that completely showed what I was thinking. For the first time in the history of the program, however, I don't know what to say. It's been 2 weeks since the confirmation of Supreme Court Justice and suspected rapist Brett Kavanaugh, a confirmation that actually inspired the creation of this very episode. Since the testimony of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford on September 27th, it has not strayed far from my mind, not only because of her demeanor, speaking calmly while recounting some of her life's darkest moments, but also the blatant attacks by the right wing, especially by Senators Mitch McConnell, Orrin Hatch, Joe Kennedy, Ted Cruz, and Lindsey Graham, who have led the charge in the Republican Party for many years now within the Senate. Even if Dr. Ford was lying about her sexual abuse, which she didn't, the reaction by Kavanaugh should have automatically disqualified him immediately from becoming a Supreme Court justice. His emotionally charged, anger-filled, and hostile statements, even aggressively asking Senator Amy Klobuchar if she had ever been blackout drunk when she had not been aggressive, was not behavior worthy of the Supreme Court. However, this is America, where half of the government simply doesn't care about this type of issue. It would be one thing if that half of the government wasn't the more powerful half. However, this isn't the case, and the confirmation of Kavanaugh, while expected, was indeed painful to watch. Even before the rise of Donald Trump, there has been a definite boys' club mentality that has been around with a lot of politicians, not just within the Republican camp, but also within the Democrats. However, many of these Democrats have been elected out, but the ones that remain purely focused on their constituents, who have not only loudly proclaimed that this type of behavior is unacceptable, but should also never make its way to Washington, and thus the rise of senators such as Cory Booker, Sheldon Whitehouse, Kamala Harris, Kristen Gillibrand, and Dianne Feinstein, representatives such as Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi, even former President Barack Obama. All of them have shown a strong belief that men and women should be viewed as equal. The depressing thing about all of this is that even after the accusations, when the Republicans could have easily picked a new nominee to save face, they decided not to do so. And even more so, stressed more the importance of swinging things their way on the Supreme Court on issues such as making abortions illegal, which would mean reversing their decision on Roe v. Wade in the Supreme Court, and defunding Planned Parenthood, which would have drastic implications for female health care beyond abortions. Replacing Obamacare, meaning that the number of people getting health care would be limited like it was prior to the installation of the Affordable Care Act in 2010, and potential gerrymandering that would favor the Republican Party. This also comes at a time when the Supreme Court itself is on shaky legs, voting in favor of a ban that, while deemed as, quote, national security, was a thinly veiled version of Donald Trump's long-promised Muslim ban, with many of the countries having a majority Muslim population. Kavanaugh's addition to the bench would not only be dangerous in the policies, but could also ruin the reputation of the Supreme Court of the United States, the highest law in the land, but also the most conservative now, with its more reasonable and sensible justices often silenced by a majority vote that could be considered cowardly. So what can we do? Well, we're already doing it. On November the 6th, the fate of the House of Representatives and some of the Senate will be decided, with a high chance that the Democrats will take back both the House and the Senate. Some of the seats that will be the most pivotal: Orrin Hatch's seat in Utah, which will most likely be filled by Mitt Romney, who is not a friend of the Trump administration but also not an enemy, and Ted Cruz's seat, where he'll be facing Democrat Beto O'Rourke, who is not only considered highly bipartisan, but also a well-known voter on the reinstitution of the Violence Against Women Act, and both of whom, I should say Ted Cruz and Orrin Hatch, are major supporters of the president and the policies of the alt-right. It's not surprising that an incompetent, misogynistic, rapist president not only nominated an incompetent, misogynistic, rapist justice, with incompetent, misogynist puppets getting him confirmed. In November, let's cut the strings of these puppets. We all know the consequences if we don't. So what do you guys think? Do you agree or disagree? Either way, please go to www.lovelandDebate.com, click on the debate section, and respond, please. And while you're at it, don't forget to like us on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/LoveLearnDebate. Follow us on Twitter @LoveLearnDebate. Follow us on our Instagram page @LoveLearnDebate. And even subscribe to the podcast and give us a review on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. My thanks to Owlia Rejections for the graphics and show soundtrack, Lola Heffernan and Imogen Aiken for their tremendous generosity in lending their voices, and Julia Levitina and Suleen for their musical contributions. That's it for this week. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks, ready to go. Thank you guys for listening, and until next time, keep loving, keep learning, keep debating. We'll see you next time on Owlia's Opinions. Goodbye.
This has been an LLD production, recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.